Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican, running for Mayor of Abbotsford. And the first thing we're going to do is get the RCMP into Abbotsford and remove the Abbotsford A.P.D. police on the organization of the criminal elite high ring in the top of the Abbotsford police. Not only that, the racist acts that the Abbotsford Task Force was doing. I've made many podcasts and I've showed you them many podcasts for Abbotsford safety to get rid of the organized criminal ring in Abbotsford under the A.P.D. This was an elite team of Abbotsford to own construction. All the major player set up was Henry Braun, having his sidekick Ed Fast, the MP, and Mike DeYoung. That was all possible for Henry Braun's son, who is a proving an economic officer under his dad in the city of Abbotsford to help on land. He showed how Abbotsford city councils were using the manipulation. We voted it through in the general public. Then he showed me how the Abbotsford newspaper, which was Tyler Olson, Rick Rakes, and he showed me Ken and Vicky Hopes, that how they would paint the article to smooth the community over and keep the eyes of everybody off. The organization and ring was huge, but the Abbotsford men and women that served in the community police were leading this for Henry Braun. Henry Braun got in his car and tried to end my life. Abbotsford's top, elite top police used their uniform and position to hold off criminal charges and help him sit his rest of his term so he could load Ross Siemens for all these land lifts in millions of dollars. That means, in my opinion, Mike Sir, the police chief, and his top investigators were paid very handsomely and very well to look away and help Henry Braun with the law. For weeks to come, I showed you videos and podcasts, which I will show you, that when I come in as mayor, the first thing I'm going to do is remove small businesses licenses to help you get up. I'm going to go after the business association downtown. I showed you what Rob San Diego of Archway was doing. I showed you what Nicole Reed of Abbotsford Chilliwack Council is doing in here with Archway. I showed you Ron Funk's illegal zone changing from 200 to 400. That was under Darren Braun to help over the general community. I showed you Henry Brown sneak in on Cooper's Farm, change the zoning from 200 to 400. But I also showed you Henry's neglect and his constant bullying with his team of Abbotsford police. But one of the most important things I showed you is the Mackenzie Bog of people out on the Mackenzie Road, Farmer Road down there, that got deadly sick, and it still carried on. That meant that Henry was controlling city officials to held off fines, warnings, and tell a guy to stop. That soil was making millions of dollars, in the city bylaw, Magna, which enforced bylaws, went after the South Asians and their dump trucks, but allowed this man because he was in their club. I want to tell you, when I learned this from Henry's own son, Darren Braun, and what Erwin Braun was doing, Henry's brother, and the land lifts, and it was just unbelievable. This, I thought it out in my mind for the longest time of where I should go, knowing Henry controlled the Abbotsford police. Walking into there is like committing suicide. I seek the best there was, and I went over to Mission, and I went to the RCMP, and never looked back. And they couldn't believe it. It was just how many big elite people were using this private police force and the manipulation of politics to say, oh, we're going after gangs, but look at our setup. Oh, it's massive. Look at it. It was ripping off taxpayers. And I showed you what Henry went in. He set up the official community plan, and he stand to gain millions and trillions of dollars, shutting down other people like the Augustine man up in Augustine. So his friend Ron Funk, the CEO of Diverse, could buy the Vaquero Ranch, get zoning change. Abbotsford First just gave it to him. Vicky Hopes wrote an article. This we need. There's a shortage of houses. So let's talk. A mayor should look after the water, roads, sewer, snow plowing, and that. This mayor wasn't. He was benefiting with his friends that were in his back pocket in council, and these little elite politicians that were running around with him. Mike DeYoung, you saw, it was obvious how he went down on his hands and he begged John Van Doggen, who hated him, to back Mike. How he got George Perry and everybody else. They needed Mike in over Suk Mangel. Let me explain something. When you become a mayor, you're supposed to be neutral to all parties that sit there. That's why I tell you, when this happened on Abbotsford residents and the threats with the top of the Abbotsford police and Keelan Olenoff dropped videos and lawsuits or I will personally effing bury you, I even went into Burnaby to Terry Beach, the MP of Trudeau's and now Carney's MP for help for Abbotsford residents. He opened his doors and let us in as Conservatives. I went to all kinds of parties because these leaders asked to set up. But I didn't know I had to leave town to go to another MP because Ed Fast was so bloody dirty. You could see the way his own party shunned him. You could see the way what he did. We have to go after this. I made it clear to Pierre Poilievre how Ed was getting his new house fast-tracked just off of Downs for Henry in order to cover all this stuff up. But make no mistake, Abbotsford A.P.D. are an elite, high organized crime. Henry Braun is a very small fish in this big ocean. If Henry got to them, other elite people, real rich, have been paying the Abbotsford police to look after, bury my rape charge, bury my spousal abuse, oh, bury my fentanyl addiction, oh, bury this, let me run this. We got to get rid of that. We need the RCMP. The RCMP are the best and there's no mistakes, and the RCMP are the best at what they do, and Abbotsford is long overdue for a very good police force, and we got to get rid of this shithole security company that's been running around town beating up Abbotsford. But today I want to take another shot, another big shot at my Conservative friend, my Conservative pal, Brad Viss. I want to just kick him again, right down in the teeth. He's not a Conservative. As a mayor, you're supposed to work with all politicians and all MLAs. You could see that Ross Siemens has not crossed that road to be neutral with the BC Conservatives. That's an odd thing. Now I did a podcast, he'll run Bruce. Bruce, please take a picture with me, Bruce. You're not supposed to create waves so you can work with everybody so the better of your community. He couldn't do that. You could see that because Ross is just a front runner to get all Henry's stuff, and Dave Loans will tweet back behind you and you can see it, emptying the city coffers, and you can see everything. I learned it all from Darren Braun. So to Brad Viss, let's sharpen your tools up and get some knives ready and sharpen your kitchen knives because you need another kick. And as mayor of Abbotsford, I'm going to kick your teeth around. And I'm going to kick it because I want it for my better of my community. I want it to see that you're somebody's lackey and you're not a community leader. He went into Ottawa and begged for that money that Darren Braun showed his dad was tied to the gravel pits for all that infrastructure, and he didn't have videos of saying, I sat with the local farmers and Mr. Speaker, and all the farmers came begging. He had no evidence to back up his false claims that he went in there. He knew that Henry went on the world stage trying to get that money when Henry was no longer the mayor, and Henry was begging for them gravel pits. In my opinion, Henry told all these big contractors, go out, buy the gravel pits, buy big machineries, buy these companies, and we're going to get the development. Now these guys are waiting, and they're pushing on Henry, and Henry's pushing on these politician friends to get it. The Nukes Act that causes the flood that Henry blamed on the Nukes Act. For 100 years, there's been no floods or nothing because the mayor of Abbotsford, Bruce Banman, George Ferguson, Mary Reeves, and we go back. And this is where the council, Mogill, and everybody sat. They had dike and ditch committees. Henry started dismantling that. Maybe he took them all off so he could go drill through the dike to cause the flood. The neglect was all on Henry. For 100 years, the farmer's always been protected, maintenance has always been up and everything. Shitbox comes in, Henry Braun, and all this stuff comes to pieces. I told you get rid of Henry, nobody can stand in Abbotsford. Abbotsford police, Colin Watts, he can't do a press conference no more. He don't, the uniform, will the uniform give me any pull up? He can't pull his pants up. He's pathetic show of Abbotsford, and all police force know this. It's time we stood up now and we kicked these people that went into uniform and beat up seniors and families. Oh, the court will take mercy on me. This is Colin Watts, Beaverface. Henry Braun been using all these people as manipulation, and Darren Braun showed me how he controlled all the strings, Mr. Fast. Oh, Vicky, can you write it? You can see Vicky Hopes. She's supposed to be the major leader on Brad Viss's article. So for 100 years, this dike's never caused a problem because maintenance was there. And Bruce, I believe, in his last term, Darren Braun told me he allocated so much money to the rebuilding of them pumps, but Henry was too greedy. I can take it out in infrastructure. I can do it. He knew the business, your community plan. He was selling stuff, buying stuff, telling his friends to buy. Ron Funk was coming in here. They were going to build. So what are I doing here today? Well, I'm here to cause shit since this is Abbotsford's treatment plant. And I want to show you that Henry was full of shit, and the Abbotsford police are shitting their pants so bad, the sewers are backing up everywhere in Abbotsford. So let's speak. This is Abbotsford's treatment center. Abbotsford Treatment Center with 40,000 new homes coming in here and 40,000 new homes into Mission has never been rebuilt or brought up to snuff. This is where a mayor's supposed to stand up. A mayor's supposed to. Under my mayorship, this thing should have, first of all, been built before you went and commenced all this infrastructure to the houses and get these houses up and all this other stuff. It wasn't, because it wasn't. It was about getting that gravel and getting them sales and that official community plan for enriching yourself, and the neglect of looking after the city was going downhill, and it was going downhill. You saw Abbotsford Police racing the Dodge Chargers. You saw no discipline on them. You saw the guys were, you can do anything as long as you listen to my orders and carry it out like a military. You saw them beating people. You saw them jumping on the community vehicles. You just anguish. And the mayors weren't spanking these guys or coming out and saying, he's been let go. I don't need to hear an investigation. Get out of here. Just like the WCB, when you come in with no harness, you're gone. Superintendent's fired the next day. Owner fires project manager. Clean house now. These are safety lines of the mayor. City staff, all the city works yard when they're supposed to be working, what are they? They're down at Lou's Bar and Grill helping the guy that's got his little car in the ditch. Hundreds of thousands of dollars gone. Abbotsford Police on the CP track when it's the CP's in business to enforce it. Thousands of dollars of being neglected because this shitbox Henry Braun was running a business and not the community. And you saw it all fall to pieces. Even under Bruce Bamman, this didn't happen. Bruce came out, owned the responsibility of when all that incident happened down on the homeless, owned it. Henry you saw Ross on Riverside there on Gladys Avenue. He tugged all these rocks on taxpayers' dollars. And Vicky Hopes, oh, quiet, Henry, don't want to mention that. Oh, taxpayers, your taxes got to go up. And then you saw Ross pay $12.4 million for a building that, oh, we need it because we want to knock the city hall down and we're going to get $80 million for the city hall. This is where the money should have been taken, very little out of the city coffers, and to get this up for the 40,000 homes coming in Mission. Now, Abbotsford's a bigger city, and we're kind of like the United States and Canada, right? The United States is blaming what Canada gets a free ride. Well, Mission's getting a little bit too much of a free ride. They got to pay their share. They can't just keep dumping, as the saying goes, you can't shit in my backyard. Yeah, they pay. They're a smaller one. But they got to start stepping up to the plate under my mayorship. And this thing's going to get rebuilt. And Abbotsford taxpayers are not going to go on the hook for this rebuilding. And I'm going to go after the federal and province government to give a little bit in here and get it up. And I'll tell you what's going to first happen. There's not going to be no gravel hauling from Henry Braun. There's going to be none of it. And like I said, under the Vetter Canal, when it was there, old Miller Construction used to dredge it to get the sand and everything to keep it down. These are all the things that were neglected. Henry Braun went in to own that bloody city, and he was going to do anything and everything he could to enrich and aid himself. And when he got in his car and tried to end my life in broad daylight, and the Abbotsford Police covered it up. Uniform, uniform, uniform. Henry Braun, I went through his whole life. I mean, I'm also been the top of investigator, better than a James Bond. Darren Brown helped me. When he was proposing TransLink, that's my community plan. I'll get SkyTrain. I used to own the company P&R Railroad. Me and my brother, I could set it all up. What happened? Where did it go wrong? Henry was neglecting Abbotsford. He took the mayorship to benefit himself, sit in that chair, and he was enriching himself. The Abbotsford Mike Sir, the police chief, knew Henry's son was in front of him. It was conflict of interest. When Henry stood off, Darren Brown stood in front of Ross and that stupid council, Abbotsford First, that were in Henry's house, which is collaborating. It's the same as Henry. He does more damage for his dad and helps his dad because he's the economic officer. He was enriching himself. And he knew, Mike Sears knew, like I knew, Vicky Hopes was covering these stories and not printing it. Then we saw through the election, but the biggest attack, and we saw Eric Nivel when Eric Nivel ran. You could go on his podcast. We kept all these, and we did fine research. I mean, really fine research. Eric Nivel said at the Abbotsford Police, it was such a racist building, and so racist, they weren't allowing any salvation on the police board. Well, I saw that with my open eyes when Abbotsford's task force went after Mogel when he was going to help the homeless. Here's a man running for the mayorship because of all the neglect. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into the city for Abbotsford residents, and we're going to forensic audit all them jobs that Ross Siemens has been fast-tracking. Abbotsford First has been fast-tracking in that. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to keep telling you and showing you, but I'm going to show you that you're going to get one of the finest mayors to cut your taxes, and we're going to go after the organized crime. I'm going to do this for my city. I'm going to do it for the seniors and residents and the South Asians that were all attacked here. And you could see the dividing. I just showed you in the beginning of the podcast that Bruce Bamman and the Conservatives don't tie themselves to this mayor. You can see Sukman Gill's not tied to it. They got to work their back angles. You can see the Abbotsford police are split. You can see the city council. Nobody knows where Dave Sadu is. Did he die? Where is he? Nobody knows where Mark Warkentine is. What happened to him? Simon Gibson, after he told me, I think the RCMP got everybody's phones tapped once they found out Henry's son was in front of him and they were lifting them law on jobs. And when the RCMP probably watched the podcast, Simon said, of you spouting your mouth off that Ron Funk is Henry's partner and they changed the zoning. Oh, the RCMP. No, don't worry. Henry's probably sent Bob Rich over there and said, Bob, you're friends with David Eby. Pull me a few favors, you and Mike, sir. I need this to go away. I need this to be cleaned up. I don't need a full investigation. We're not even going to let David Eby. This is organized crime. This is one of the largest rings in the Fraser Valley in crime, and it led to these jobs. Threats on Abbotsford's, blocking elections, and rigging, and then brutalizing with an Abbotsford police force. You saw the attack, thanks to the RCMP, smashing my phone, my cameras, and everything. So when you want to cause shit, and you want to cause trouble, you should start here. You should start here, and this is where you need to start, is at Abbotsford's treatment center. This is where the Abbotsford whole task force, when I'm finished with them, won't even be capable of working here because they're not trustworthy even to go here and work in the shit tank of Abbotsford sewer because they'll screw this job up too. They got to be gone. They got to be removed out of Abbotsford. Every law enforcement has to see what they did. Why? Why? Why do I stand so strong? They went after seniors. They went after families. They went after young kids. They went after residents and law-abiding citizens. They didn't care what they were doing. And then they stood on stage and talked about gangster uniform. Do you look at this uniform? And police and the Attorney General will help us. Oh, the courts. And they manipulated everything that they were trustworthy to protect Abbotsford's safety, make sure the law was there, and make sure this didn't happen. They didn't. Why? How? Why? What? It was an elite establishment. Henry Braun set it all up. Henry Braun was the mastermind and the ringleader. And I sat back with the RCMP, Bill Vanderzam, MLAs, and said, Henry goes. It's clear what I learned from Darren Brown. Henry goes. They're all done. And you can see it. Mike Sir, Bob Rich first fled. Oh, he was out of here. I'm retiring. And he went looking for a job. Then Mike Sir went, wait for me, Bobby. Wait. And he's running. And you could see them all fleeing. And you could see what's happening. Abbotsford needs a total overhaul, and it needs the best so this never takes place again. And we need a constant eye on what's taking place in that city hall. And not only that, let me get you a little up. We got city people that are writing things for the official community plan, and we need Vicky Hope's the official community plan for the next 20 years. Oh, Peter Sparanese, my city manager, that'll be gone. I'll send him packing, investigate him. Rob Isaac, of engineer, I'll kick that guy so hard he won't even know where it is, and I'm going in after everything that he worked on because he was Henry's lackey, and Darren Brown showed me. This is where my experts should have been writing for before my community plan was printed in the newspaper. Abbotsford needs more water capacity. Abbotsford needs their roads and bridges brought up to snuff. Abbotsford needs their sewer treatment brought up to snuff. Abbotsford needs to accommodate all these, and the city wasn't working on that. Henry had him working only on his developments and developments that he could tag from the province or the federal government through his elite ring to get money into his establishment. We're going to take them hands away and we're going to cut them off. But Abbotsford residents, let me make it clear, to Abbotsford, to Chilliwack, to Mission, to everywhere. Abbotsford needs and demands the RCMP. Under the RCMP, I'll be able to move forward swiftly and quickly. We will drop the bunker buster bomb into the Abbotsford A.P.D. like it never had before and scatter them out of here. There's not a one of them. Believe me, I told you Dix is a very good man. I would have, in the first day I had him, I would have made recommendations on my name to keep him into the RCMP. But he's been there too long, and I believe, just like a potato when it goes bad in the sack, they all start stinking and they're gone bad. They can't even work here. So this is what we're looking at to say to Missions Mayor Paul Horn, and when Pam was the MLA and the Minister of Ag, Henry had her scouting every piece of I need that fast tracked. I got a tilt up for Josh Gallardi, Orion Construction. Can you get that, Pam? This was Pam's main focus, was a former mayor of Mission should have been here and said, listen, Henry, listen, you know, like, this needs to be brought up to code and everything. But let's get something straight, Henry Braun. Let's understand this. If you wouldn't have got in that car and came to that protest to end my life, fled from with that car, then asked the Abbotsford police to cover it, then threatened me, then blocked the election and everything else, nobody would have been any wiser, Henry. You sent it off the rails. But your hands and your friends and your developers will never, ever have a foothold or a bid on a job. We're going to block them all, and we're going to block mural contractors. We're going to block all these. But I'm going to tell you what, Henry, listen it and share it to all your friends, to everybody that you know that's in the development. We're going to financially audit all the fast-track jobs. We're going to go after it. When I saw Mo Gale say where there was smoke, there was fire, working with Aquilini, I told you, Mike Dakota taught me so much of Ani. Mike, I can't praise the guy enough. Ani was a really good man, Mike Dakota, tremendous man. And then I told you Tony Miguel and Peter Wall of Wall Financial and Bruno. I know when Mo was aiming down that alley that you were using the city, signing non-disclosures, fast-tracking your stuff. You had your son in front of him. I saw what Dave Lowen's doing and everything. So I'm going to give you this message, Henry. I waited the longest for this video. I'm going to shove your head down the toilet tank, and the Abbotsford Police Chief, Watts, and his mans down this toilet tank, and I'm going to flush it as a politician. And that's what I'm going to do for Abbotsford, and I'm going to get the best that's down proud, that's not scared to charge, not scared to bring stuff before the court, get witnesses, affidavits, and cameras, and bring charges on anybody and everybody, so there's one set of laws. I'm live here, Abbotsford Treatment Center, Abbotsford, BC.